Ask the Messengers TV show is a TV show that educates, informs, and entertains our viewers on public health issues such as mental illness, suicide, addiction, illness and disease, COVID-19 relief, crime, domestic violence, homelessness, human trafficking, employment opportunities, healthcare, and more. And now, Ask the Messengers.
For the past 6 years, it's truly been a wonderful journey for all of us as part of the Ask the Messengers team. We've held on, we've stayed strong, we kept our faith, and when it seems like we couldn't continue, the universe poured out its blessings, and we are still doing what this show was intended to do, and that is to help save lives one episode at a time. While everyone is moving about and preparing for their holiday season, please pause throughout your day to send a positive vibe throughout the air for those who are less fortunate. Say a small prayer for those who lost loved ones recently. Ask for comfort as they experience their first time without their mother, father, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, uncle, or best friend. Think about others just a wee bit more than you did yesterday. Over this holiday season, we will bring you a few real people sharing their real stories of how they made it through some of their most darkest moments. It is through this mess that we are able to share a message. And it's the test that gives us a testimony. Ask the Messengers begins now.
My name is Rich. I'm from Chicago. My drug of choice was heroin, alcohol, marijuana, crack, but heroin was first and foremost.
And how old were you when you first picked up?
When I first picked up a drug, I was about 10. That was alcohol, 13 with marijuana. And then after high school, I got into cocaine and heroin.
How did your using affect your relationship with your family?
It ruined it. My family tried their own interventions with me that I gave into out of a guilty conscience. But once again, I never had a desire to stop. It caused arguments within my family, how to deal with it. Not to mention the worry it caused daily. It was hard. It was very hard on my family.
And how is your relationship with your family today?
It's fantastic. It's unbelievable. I'm trusted. I'm called to go to holidays, to family gatherings, talk about sports, talk about weather. My opinion counts. Some family members I still have a lot to prove to, but that'll all come with time. That's the furthest from my goals right now. Taking care of me is number one. I've been lucky. I've been a lot luckier than a lot of people I know, by the grace of God. Overdoses, jail, prison, and I still got everything I came into this world with.
I'm Mary Ann. I am an 8-year Navy veteran. And when I got out, I was an aviation support equipment technician, second class, which is an E5. When I got out of the Navy, I really didn't see any issues happening at the time. I mean, I got out, I got the little jobs here and there. I was a security officer on a submarine base in Kings Bay, Georgia for a while. Then I went back to Beaufort and I was a correctional officer. My drinking increased and started to be just drinking, but I still didn't see it as a problem. I ended up going to Virginia, and I stayed in Virginia for about 8 years. I lived in Virginia, and during that time, the drinking still increased, and some drug use came into play then, and I still didn't see it as a problem. I mean, I felt like I was handling everything, and when I came back to South Carolina, there again, the drinking and the drug use, and then it started to really be an issue. It took over my life. I started not to be a very good parent for my teenager. I have an older daughter, and she brought that to my attention. Mom, I don't know what you're doing, but something is not right, and you need to get help. And depression just set in. I don't know where that came from, but I was going to work one morning, and I could not stop crying. I could not drive. I was just totally, I had to pull over on the side of the street, and I called my daughter, and I said, look, I don't know what's wrong, but I need something's wrong. And we left Beaufort and went to the VA in Charleston that day. I was inpatient, severe depression, I got the medication I needed, and I completed the program. I was given transitional work experience, therapeutic work experience. I was told about a position as an employment specialist. I put in for it, and I got it. So now I can help other homeless veterans, and I feel good about that. I feel good about being able to help somebody the way that I was helped. The tools that I use to cope with being in recovery, definitely paying attention to the triggers that are there, knowing when I feel that feeling coming, what I need to do to avoid using. Everything that my counselor has told me or taught me about looking for the signs of depression, because depression was really a big thing for me. It's just, with the counseling, with the medication, it helps. If you feel like you need help, my recommendation is to seek help, because it's not that easy, but once you make that decision and make that first step, there's no looking back.
My name is April, and I am an only child. I grew up in an alcoholic home. My father was the drinker, and my mom was the crazy Al-Anon codependent woman. Growing up in that environment as, a little girl and being the only one in the family or the only child, it was very scary. At an early age, I developed, and so I'm never really alone.
What would you say to somebody who was just like you?
Stay tuned for more of Ask the Messengers.
Happy anniversary. This is Lauren Harper wishing happy anniversary to Ask the Messenger TV show. Ask the Messengers celebrates 6 years of being on TV. The show airs every Sunday at 8 a.m. on TV 20. Bring you love, happy, bring you hope, anniversary. Teaching my brother and my sister I love one another. Bring you love, happy, bring you hope, anniversary. Don't miss the hottest gospel play of the season. It's Fair Change Christmas time. You don't want to miss this opportunity to give God praise. Coming to Wings of Love, 17133 John R. Sunday.
Heroin and meth.
How old were you when you first picked up?
10 or 11.
And how were you able to get a hold to it at such a young age?
Just the household I was brought up in, alcohol and weed. It was everywhere. Well, my household was just so shaky. Everything was always on edge. My mom was in and out of prison. I was in foster care. And the first time I actually smoked weed wasn't my choice. My brother kind of forced it upon me.
So how did your using affect your relationship, or how did it blend in with your relationship with your family?
At first, it kind of grew us closer because it was a bonding thing. But as I got older and made my own family, it totally destroyed it.
So if you can talk to someone who, there's a lot of, when you hear one person's story, you're like, damn, I thought I was the only one. So let's talk to somebody who might be still thinking they're the only one. What would you say to somebody who was just like you?
Be your own person. Don't be some putty that can be molded into anything. No is a complete answer. You don't have to do anything you don't want to.
So I grew up in a low socioeconomic area in West Australia, in Lockridge, and I grew up in quite a good family. we had our issues, and there was some addiction problems and stuff, but all around, my mum and dad were still together, and we had a really good family. And I started, like many other people do, I started smoking a little bit of pot in school, and I really didn't like it, but because everyone else was doing it, I thought, okay, well, this is the norm. Like, if I want to be a 15, 16-year-old girl, I need to be smoking pot, and I want to fit in with the crowd, and I want to fit in and be normal, and you know, I don't want to be the weird one, not doing anything. So I left school, and slowly and progressively, the drugs got worse and worse and worse, to the point where at 19, I was using acid and LSD every weekend for 2 years. And slowly and progressively, that didn't suffice anymore. And even though I had a really good job, and I was managing a pharmacy, and I had amazing prospects, I'd bought a house and stuff, there was something, this pull inside of me that, you know, this addiction started to have a real say over my life. And I met some people who happened to be using heroin, and as they say, the rest is history. So after the first time I used heroin intravenously, I didn't have a break for 12 months. It was full on every single day. The addiction started that quick. It was that fast, and before I knew it, I was so heavily addicted that I'd lost lots and lots of weight, and I had just robbed the pharmacy that I was actually working at for lots and lots of money, and I lost my job, I lost my house. And so in 2003, I was 25. I'd been a drug addict pretty much for 10 years. So I looked around at my life and I thought, I can't do this anymore. I need to make a real change for my life. had little stints before, and I had never really done it long term. So I thought I'd challenge myself, and if I could get off drugs for 3 months like I'd done before, I'll progress from there. But I just needed to get to that 3-month point. So I wrote down a few goals, and my first one was that I didn't want to look like a junkie anymore, because I had scabs all over my face and I looked like a typical drug user, and I didn't want to look like that anymore. I wanted to be a valuable member of society, and I didn't want people to come up to me and ask me for drugs anymore. I didn't want to be that person stereotyped that I was a drug addict. And I am now happy to say that I'm 12 years clean. I tell people all the time, make your life so amazing you don't ever want to go back. And my life is so full and so amazing now that drug addiction is not a choice. It's not an option anymore, because my life is so great.
What was your drug of choice? Heroin and crack cocaine and Xanax.
And how old were you when you first started using?
I was 11 when I first started smoking weed. First time I smoked crack, I was about 13 years old.
How did you get a hold to it?
I got a hold, my dad died of a heroin overdose when I was real young, and my mom, she was a heroin addict my whole life, and my mom seen that I was getting high, and my mom offered to start shooting me up, and I took the offer because I thought it would make us a little closer, you know.
So your mother shot you, was the first person to shoot you up?
Yes, one of the first people.
And how did it make you feel?
Well, I actually overdosed that time, but I came to. It made me feel like I wasn't nothing to her. It made me feel like crap. It did, but at the same time, I thought we would get closer, because she opened up to me about how my dad died of the overdose and everything. She was real reclusive growing up, you know. I didn't know. She didn't talk to us about her addiction. Everything was, I used to have to drive to Detroit with her every day, and she'd shoot up in the car and say, "Turn your head." And I would not dare turn my head back, because I did not want to see it. I never thought I'd get into it, but it got me by its grips.
So how did your using affect your relationship with the rest of your family?
I stole from my grandma, I stole from my sister, I stole from everybody. I just broke their hearts. They was worried about me. They wouldn't talk to me. They wanted to do tough love. Everything. I mean, I ruined I ruined all my relationships with them, but they see that I've changed and I'm building them back. My sister's been real supportive of me.
How did your using affect you with jails and institution?
Well, growing up, even as a teen, I was one of the first candidates for juvenile drug court. They was even telling me I was an addict back then, and I was in juvie back then. I turned 18 and was using and stealing, got my first felony, got out of juvie, went straight to jail, and then institutions after institutions. But it wasn't until I was actually ready and it was my choice to do it, till I had to go through enough pain to be able to come out of it. I had to realize how much pain it was causing me and my family.
So what brought you to your knees? What made you actually hit bottom?
I was, I'm a lesbian, but I used to have long hair, and I was hooking, walking the streets of Flint on the east side. I got kidnapped by some men, and they forced me to do some things. That same night, I got robbed at gunpoint. The next day, my girlfriend and I decided to move to Colorado with her mom and try to get clean from there.
And how long you been clean now?
I've been clean 3 years. I started off with methadone, tapered down. Then went into a Sacred Heart facility, tapered down there, and fought through it. And now I'm part of different programs, Drug Free All Stars. I'm trying to be part of the community, try to help get out the message that all my friends are dying. I got friends dying left and right. I have over 30 friends die. I have a friend die every single week out here. I have from 17 years old to 50 years old, and I'm sick of it. Something needs to be done. Our eyes need to be open. They're starting to get open, but we need to be open them wider. I hope everybody starts realizing how this is affecting everybody and families. I'm seeing families crying over their 21-year-old daughters and their, 16-year-old sons that decided to use once because they thought it was cool. It's just everywhere, and it doesn't. It does not. It's not. It's not. It doesn't. Damn, I don't know the word I'm looking for. It doesn't discriminate whether you're black, white, poor, rich, whatever you are. It doesn't discriminate. You know what I mean? Everybody is susceptible to it.
The holidays are almost here, and this is, supposed to be in our minds a really joyful and festive time for so many people. But on the flip side, it can also be a stressful time. And it's really important that people who have addictive issues or are new into sobriety, that they really spend the time to plan out this time and to think ahead at some of the challenges that may be happening for them. When I was about 8 or 9 months sober, I remember going to a holiday party. It was actually in Boston at a bar downtown, and all of my closest friends were there. And I was really looking forward to the event because in my mind, I still wanted to keep some of that old life that I had, and I didn't want to be isolated and feel different. However, I showed up at this event and I sat back and looked at the room, and I saw the life that I used to have and that I didn't have anymore. And I wasn't feeling the same joy that I used to feel at a social event. And in fact, I was just constantly thinking about how I just wanted to drink. And so I had thought ahead and I had planned ahead for this event. And I had a sober person who was available on the phone to talk to me if I was having a hard time. So I went outside. I remember standing on the sidewalk outside the bar, and I called them and I just said, I've been able to make it through a lot of events that people drink at, but this one in particular is just really, really, really a struggle. In fact, why am I here if I'm so miserable? And so they actually came and picked me up, but that's because I planned ahead and I had somebody that I knew would be available if I called them. I think that evidence that the holidays can be a challenging time for people is the fact that many mutual help groups actually set up 48-hour-long continuous meetings that are available to the public. These meetings, some are called alkathons, are held on the day before Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving Day, it runs all the way through. and then on Christmas Eve, Christmas, and then again on New Year's Eve and New Year's. So people can show up at any time. There's always somebody speaking or a meeting being held. There's food, there's socialization. People can come in and leave. They don't have to sign up, and they can just show up. Now, since Zoom has become such a popular mode of meeting, there's going to be an availability to even, sort of Zoom right into some of these meetings remotely, which can really be helpful for people, especially if there's bad weather or if they just want to sort of go into a room and, kind of beam into a meeting during a family holiday event and then recharge and leave, then go back into the family event. So these are a great resource for people, but it is showing that this can be a particularly hard time for those in recovery. Given all of the challenges that the holidays may present for people, we decided to put together a holiday survival guide because we don't want you to just exist and to just wish the holidays away. We want you to actually thrive during this time. So there are certainly things that you can do, strategies that you can apply to enjoy yourself and also to feel that you're safe and that your recovery is protected.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of Ask the Messengers. If you would like to support our show, please feel free to make a donation of any amount by visiting our show website, www.askthemessengers.org. Ask the Messengers is a program that deals with things that help you. Thank you for watching.